So I was going to ask you about, so there was Nashville tried to have a second penalty called, right? And it was actually more of a penalty than the first one that was called, right? And they didn't call it.
They don't have it in the highlights.
Yeah, no, they didn't show it in the highlights. It's on the other side of the box. And I think we were a bit fortunate. I actually, as much as I thought the first one was shambolic and never, ever, ever should have been a penalty, the second one I kind of thought was a penalty. Yeah. And, this is classic refereeing. Once he called the first one, he was never going to call the second one, right? So it would have taken somebody to literally, chop a leg off or something.
So they stripped the goal.
Which we saw in the NWSL the other day, too, so I should remind you.
So they stripped the goal here, Dave, and then it's back to our same old set piece problems, Dave.
Okay.
It's a long throw in from like the top of the 18.
Does that even count as a set piece?
And it gets flicked to the far post and kind of shot crossed in, headed in. But Dave, I want you to look at the same observation you made a million times. We had two guys that were, I think, man marking and two on the front post that were zone marking. All four of them come out to mark two guys, and we don't even get to the ball. And what does that lead to? What we've talked about is one of the guys went up and won it, flicked to the far post where obviously somebody's... Am I learning something here from you, Dave? I hate it.
It's interesting because...
I just had to admit I was wrong to Philippe on the podcast, and I'm saying that Dave is teaching me something. Damn it.
It's interesting because I'm all for a combination of zone and man marking. You might say, oh, you're so against the zone. No, I actually think that there should be zonal players. But we, in fairness to Pineda and the assistant coaches, we started out with the full team zoning. That quickly got changed, and now we're down to half the team zoning. So 5 players zone on all corners and throws and whatever inside the 6-yard box. Now, why you need 5 players zoning inside the 6-yard box is beyond me. I think you should never, ever, ever have more than 3, and probably 2 is sufficient.
Yeah.
Because you have man marked, then there's responsibility. You have 2 guys who are free, or maybe 3 if you're being totally paranoid, and then you're good.
So in between this, we had Araujo kind of take a ripper from outside. It deflects off somebody's head and goes off the crossbar. That was like one chance that we had.
Unlucky.
Well, unlucky, but you create your own luck when you rip a shot like that. And then Dave,
was that outside or inside the box? Did you know? Did you make a note of that?
Oh, it was way outside.
Okay,
yeah, it was a long range shot, and it was really deflected.
You can bring that up as a counterexample in a minute.
It was like nowhere on frame, but a Nashville defender headed it, and it then ended up arcing and going off the post. Dave, I'm gonna let you describe this kind of breakaway for the extra time goal that Nashville got that led to Lennon and Franco and Bobby Shuttleworth just being a disaster, and showing Lennon has to leave his feet for no reason, and just lack of composure there on, letting a guy even score in such, he did a great job scoring a bad.
I have to say, as Carmen is going to call it up, I have down that we were decent in the first half, obviously, good lead, completely capitulated in the second half. And I wrote midway through the second half, if we survive, it will be a miracle. And even when we introduced Campbell as a third center back, so much for him having a groin injury, but and then later waited till the very last minute to introduce Sosa. At the end of regulation, Mikey Dobbs, the expected goals, 1.58 for Nashville and only 1.08 for Atlanta. So despite that early lead, we failed to press on the gas, and we just totally capitulated.
Yeah. And you could feel it coming. I mean, like we said, at halftime, you almost felt that it was written. I don't know. So I don't know. Walk us through this goal, Dave. Like, what did you see here in terms of both defenders? Bobby Shuttleworth.
It's basically a long, aimless ball. He gets on it early, and then after that, it's scramble, scramble, scramble. Right? He just runs right by. At this point, we have 3 center backs in the game, I should point out. And Shuttleworth comes out. He goes around Shuttleworth. Campbell goes back to defend the end line, right? And,
It's just so JV.
It's like the Keystone Cops, really.
Oh, I don't know. And that's all I have to say.
It's Lennon and Campbell, and, Lennon's tried to tackle. He gets in Shuttleworth's way and then comes back and distracts Shuttleworth, and then he scores.
So I don't even want to talk about this game anymore. Let's just put it in the past. Maybe a good thing with the injuries. We got less games on the schedule moving forward.
It was terrible.
Yeah. Onward.